hear me? Cool. So last month, or perhaps the month before, I can't actually remember what it was, we had a game competition called JS13K, and the idea of that one is that you make a web-based game using web technologies in 13 kilobytes, which is actually really cool if you're making something, because it sort of takes away all the, the crazy technologies and whatnot. You have to boil it down to something basic that you can actually fit inside of that 13 kilobytes. Now, last year, if you were here last year, I think I did a talk on this one, which was my entry for that year, which was kind of like a little isometric game that was a bit cute and did some stuff. The gameplay itself wasn't amazing, but I did fairly well just because it was like technically impressive for 13 kilobytes. So there was actually a lot of pressure to try and do something better this year. I failed horribly. I had these fantastic ideas in my head, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do everything. Turns out that got really depressing when there's a week left and I've got like some things drawing on the screen. So didn't actually submit anything this year. But my idea was I wanted to make a 3D engine in 2D technology. So something where you've got actual, mostly voxels, but you can sort of rotate and pan and zoom and stuff like that. So started off with this fun little demo, which is like, I was trying to use a sine wave to make a square, which is actually possible because like, I've prepared a sine wave here, for example, for drawing, you can tell. If you actually sample a sine wave here, 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 and here, you've basically got the outline of a square. If you shuffle these ones over, you can actually draw a cube, square, that way. And so my idea was, you know what, I'm going to try and make a cube out of that. So you can see here we've got the square, we've projected it to the isometric projection, and we can rotate it because you just offset the sine wave. Just to give you an example of how this actually works, I'll comment out some bits. And if we fill in the square, you can see it's starting to take shape. You can rotate it, that's pretty cool. And then if you fill in the corners, this is just offsetting it by x height and drawing in the sides. So you end up with essentially a little cube, which you can rotate. And you can sort of see there, I've just drawn the bottom, the top, and the two sides. So that was the idea behind my sweet voxel engine. You can even adjust the size of it, but due to circumstances unforeseen, when you rotate it, it just does not work. It's just terrible. Terrible stuff. Eventually I abandoned that idea, just because sine waves aren't actually that great for drawing stuff. And then ended up with this result, which you can sort of see in the code. I'm not sure if that's big enough, but we've basically taken 4 points in like the Cartesian space, and then you can convert them to like polar coordinates, which is actually kind of easy. If you copy and paste from the internet, you can see that function there is the conversion for that. And so that means that what we can do with Cartesian coordinates, which you can easily offset x and y, convert them to polar, and then you can take them. And so that's what we came up with here. Again, rotation, and then you might call it squish. You can do that sort of stuff, and then it'll happily rotate. Looking good. So there, I figured what else draw Mario. This isn't perfect because there's like no depth sorting on it, but you can actually see it's kind of rotating as if you would actually have 3D stuff. So that's kind of a 3D function that I was trying to get into. And this is sort of as far as I got. This sweet demo with an error, refresh, a bit random. I was going to try and make like a little 3D tower defense kind of game. These are the bad guys running away from the portals. Trying to get down the bottom here to our tower. Got a little bit sidetracked. I hope I'm not taking too much time here. What have we got? Yeah, got a little bit sidetracked actually drawing stuff, because once I'd worked out how to draw 3D things, I kind of got to designing 3D things and little things past this particular voxel format, and so this is like crazy slow. Yeah, I just went and built a whole bunch of cool things in voxels, and then kind of did that. So that's where I got to and how I got there, and kind of gave up. Hoping to maybe finish it at some point, but yeah, there's more to get that.
That's still 13K code?
Not with those sprites. The rendering and everything is. So here is the code. Missing somewhere, presumed. Completely gone. I have no idea.
Why you didn't use WebGL?
WebGL. I didn't use WebGL partly because I'm not familiar with it, but also partly because it's like really verbose. So, in order to draw a cube, which Glen will show us shortly, it is like a huge amount of code. Whereas if we look at, I've closed it. Anyway, if we look at the demo to draw a cube in this, it's maybe 20 lines kind of thing. So it's really small and fun challenge, you know.
Some impressive work now. And it's stylish too.
Now for my cool demo that's not in 3D. It's fine. Yeah, so I have had an idea for a thing. This is actually not even related to JS13K, but it's a game, so therefore it's the same thing, right? So how do you use the same as a normal computer, not an Apple? Yes, good. Is it online?
Yes.
Excellent. If anyone wants to, it probably is going to die very quickly, but if anyone goes there, they'll be greeted with a terrible piece of UI, of which you can type in a very secure username and password and create an account or whatever.
Does that say game 2?
It does say game 2, yes.
Thanks, Kory.
And then myname.com. If you can't see that, I can't zoom in because that's not a zoomable piece of the UI. But anyway, yeah. So I'm trying to make like a real-time strategy, effectively, multiplayer and long-running. So I want it to be like a, I don't know if you've ever played There's Someone. It's going to die soon, I guarantee it. It doesn't really work on phone very well. I want it to be like a really long-running, like month or 2 months or a year, sort of like, I want to say massive multiplayer, but the massive part's not going to happen because of performance. But I'm thinking like maybe 4 people in a world at a time, and you're an ant and you're a queen. So this is my queen down here, and you can like select a queen and say lay some eggs, and she gets there, and all the eggs come out and stuff. And you can, how do you right click with this computer? Two-finger tap. There you go. I can say, okay, queen, get out of the way, and I can select my eggs. And I think I have some food. Yes, I do. And dirt too. Good. I can attach some soldiers. There's my soldiers. Pick them up and say, oh, come over here. And they're gonna go cruising and stuff. But I really need to go like find this bug down here maybe. So I'll tell my ants to go down there and dig. So soldiers can't dig because they're lazy, and actually probably because digging's like below them because they're soldiers and they drill. And so they tell the workers to do that for them. And yeah, so you can, everyone can jump in if they want to, and you can fight each other and kill each other's queens and do whatever. It's probably not 13K, it's probably more like 130K or 1,300K, but you know, anyway, they found a thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I spent a huge amount of my time on performance because it's completely run on the server. It's on a micro, and I don't really want to pay for it. So I need to use a maximum of 10% of a micro's CPU at any given time, which is like no CPU at all. It's ridiculous. And the biggest problem that I've had at the moment is I've paid $6 so far this month, which I never wanted to do, for data bandwidth, because my really good code sends the entire game state every 30 milliseconds to every client. Which in a month ended up being 40 gigabytes of bandwidth, and that was $6. So I feel like when you kind of add that up, it wasn't too bad, but I would have rather it be $0 to be honest. Yeah, so if anyone knows any kind of like binary or string diffing algorithms, that'd be really cool, because I'd rather just like create the state on the server, or say the client says, hey, this is kind of like my last state was this one, like a little chunk of it. Tell me what the diff is, and goes, yeah, okay, bam, that's what I'm after. at the moment. In terms of technology and stuff, it actually uses bitmaps for collisions. Initially, every single circle, so you take a chunk out, you say X, Y, radius, and that's whole. Initially, it was using like vector math and whatever to go, okay, this thing's inside at least any circle, so it can move. Okay, it's intersecting with a circle that's not inside another circle, it's hitting a wall. That was just like horrible performance. So instead, it doesn't sound right, but instead, it's 1,000 by 1,000 bitmap that takes every circle and draws like 1 or 0 in that map to say whether or not it's dirt or not. And then when it goes to collide, it just goes, all right, grab all the bits in that area and decide whether or not it's hitting. It just like sounds horribly inefficient, but for some reason it's drastically faster than just doing the math on the circles. But yeah, I don't know, that works. Someone over here is coming to attack me. I don't know who that is. Yeah, obviously I haven't spent a lot of time on visuals because it's mostly just kind of debugging, and you can select everything. You see stuff down here and what every single one of them can do, and not necessarily actually do. That's kind of whatever. Edge cases, who cares? Anyway, so that's it. I've put it on a fake subdomain, so feel free to play with it. And one day it's just going to go down because it's going to start costing money. So. Yeah, that's all.
Thanks very much.
How many amps does it support?
A couple hundred, I'd say. Although, yeah, because you get like a quota on AWS of like 100 and whatever. So you get like 150 CPU quotas, and you can obviously use 100% CPU until you run out of quota. So with maybe that many amps, you can probably sit below the 20% mark, and you could probably do 10 to 20 times as many as that, but it'll run out of quota and then go really slow.
Have you thought of zipping a bit?
So currently I only send diffs for the terrain. So I say the last terrain hole that I know about was ID 503. Tell me every terrain since then, and usually it just says there's nothing. Then it goes, okay, there's like one hole here, and it just says X5Z. Then, including that and all of the other state, I'm using LZ UTF-8 to chunk it down. It's about a quarter of the size. It's sort of like way bigger than it needs to be, because I am just going like, give me every single piece of state about the entire server. Even like, I don't have visibility and whatever, but eventually it's going to have like, fog of war. I only send the state that's in fog of war as well. So, I don't know, lots of plans.
Cool. Awesome. So just before JS13K started, I thought I'd start learning WebGL, but my general process of learning how any technology works is to start from the fundamentals and struggle until you realize that you should actually use a library, and then you understand how the library works. And then you really appreciate the library. So I started going through webfundamentals.org. Can you guys actually read that? Yeah. I started going through their web tutorials, which are really good. They've actually got a few bugs, but they've got pretty good working examples, and they're up on GitHub as well, so you can submit back any bugs that you find. I started going through that, and well, they also do have some libraries that they depend on themselves, but I tried to extract that out and move it across each one. I got as far as this little demo. I didn't get all the way through the tutorials, but I used dat.gui to sort of make things easier to work with as well. So if I just stop the animation speed on something of interest, I can do the transform stuff, move the camera around on all its axes, do some scaling, that sort of stuff, play with the field of view. So I open source this as well, so if you wanted to play with it yourself, it's a good way of getting a real feel of what those magic numbers that they scatter through their examples actually do. And it's not actually much code at all. But then Ash nagged and convinced me to join actually do JS13K. So here is what I ended up with, which scaled really badly. Oh no, that's not too bad. So I wanted to make a space game that uses, might refresh that. just imagine those cubes were actually spheres. Didn't get that far. What happened is I got halfway through and then decided to buy a block of land and build a house, so got very distracted. You can't actually hear it, unfortunately, but there is sound. Oh, there we go. So I ended up using what I learned from those tutorials and some previous game physics knowledge, just sort of learned around the place to build this. And if I go, there we go. And then I run out of energy and then get lost, but I'll probably get pulled back into more planets. So I'm running this in complete WebGL, so those stars in the background there, they're drawn with a different Z distance to everything else. No magic around like any isomorphic stuff, it's just plain old WebGL. I did have to do some shaders, but I didn't really understand them too much, so they're very basic as well, so good to work off because they don't do much. I published the source code up here. It's got links off to the WebGL fundamentals and a nice web audio tutorial that I found as well, and an isosphere that I started on and never ended up getting working. But the total is 4.8K minified. There's also a nice build tool in there if you want to have a look at that. But the actual lines of JavaScript code, there's a lot of building the models like that. But once you take that out, there's not actually much complexity. So not too bad to learn off. I wish I had more time to finish it off, but yeah, I didn't, and that's it.
Well done though, well done.
Did you want to wrap up at all? Or?
Questions, anyone?
Can WebGL suffer from like jank and that kind of thing when it's animating? Do you have to really be careful on like what kind of is on particular threads and like, well, you know, what's processing?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I should hold this up. Most definitely. There's a lot of misconception that put anything into WebGL and it performs amazingly, but that's just not the case. It is slower on the JavaScript side, like you still have to update the positions of things and then render each one. So yeah, you can still make it a lot slower. Any other questions?
Who's inspired to make a little game? Who would like to enter next year?
There's lots of people who actually finish it. It's not just full of people who half start.
I watched.
Ash came second last year, right? Yeah, and got some prizes and stuff and good recognition.
I don't remember it's second, might have been, you know, won the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
true.
may have just won everything. Yeah, absolutely. So, you want to say another thing?
While we're in the same thing, it reminded me in my one. Sorry, the UI is actually rendered in DOM rather than like Canvas because I actually found it performs substantially better than Canvas. That's very likely because I don't know what I'm doing. But I also thought I usually like to mock it when I'm making games and stuff, 2D stuff. I just mock it up in DOM using the lid right tool fasten because it's easy. I can just bind to like left, right, top, you know, that kind of stuff. This one, it got far enough down the track and it was just still fast. And I thought, yeah, let's just see how far I can push this. And then I ended up having like hundreds of ants and dirt and all kinds of stuff. And it was in DOM, it was still going fine. So I thought, yeah, okay. I'm just going to keep going until it dies, basically. And yeah, so far I'm very impressed with the DOM, and I don't really know how people can complain about the performance of it, to be honest. Especially, well, I mean, again, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing really when it comes to Canvas, but the fact that I'm easily getting better performance than Canvas is just pretty amazing, I think.
How many objects you have?
From a rendering perspective, you can have like hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know.
Yeah, but if you have like maybe 10,000 or million?
I've got the unit cap currently
Canvas
to
can be-
200 per player, and we've hit that because the people at my work are software developers, and so what they try to do is immediately break everything. That's kind of like in their blood. So that's what they do. They just sit there and like spawn eggs until they can't spawn any more eggs. Then they went, oh, you can build unlimited buildings, so they built unlimited buildings. And yeah, so it's
So
just,
what we found, like with benchmarking, with number of object increases,
Mm.
Doom just sucks, Canvas always gets better. Like
Yeah, yeah,
SVGs,
yeah.
when you can directly address elements and things, but when number of object grows,
Mm.
Doom just becomes slower and slower.
Yeah, I found that like unless you're pushing more than 10,000 elements in a page, you pretty much won't even notice the problem. And that's even on like phones and stuff. I actually blogged about this a couple of years ago, and there's a benchmark that was create 10,000 divs or 10,000 whatever H1s or something, and it took a couple like 300 milliseconds, I think. It was in 2012, and I got a comment on that block and revived it, and I went, okay, I'll run that benchmark again, and it took like 2 milliseconds to create 10,000 elements. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm just right now today. There's just such ridiculous performance in the DOM that it's like a valid render target for games and stuff like that, which doesn't really make sense. But you know, it's kind of good.
Yeah, we have the browser manufacturers to thank for that one. Constant optimization. Okay, brings us to that time of the evening where I say thank you very much. You've made this night wonderful for me and hopefully for everyone else. I hope that you've all been enlightened with all your different talks. And if you want to talk, if you've got something fantastic to share, which everyone does, don't worry, everyone has something valuable to contribute to this, and you can all do a talk. If you're a bit nervous, you should chat to me. We can even get a proxy to do the talk for you. Hold your hand if necessary. I think public speaking is fantastic, so you should get up here and do it. So if you've got anything you want to contribute, hit up the GitHub page, write an issue, or talk to me, and I'll do it for you. So I always want everyone to step forward, enjoy themselves, and get good feedback. We're all a friendly audience, so hopefully everyone's feels rewarded after this evening. So thanks very much. We'll reconvene again next month, and you'll get the meetup invite, and hopefully you can all come around next time. Thanks very much.